Hi, and welcome to Christmas Stories with Grandma Evelyn. Come on, gather round, and let me tell you a story. This story I've chosen for you is called The 12 Days of Christmas in Michigan. Gather round. This is a letter, Dear Katie. Hold out your right hand with your palm facing you. Believe it or not, you are looking at a map of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. Can you see why this is called the Mitten State? In the middle of your palm is Lansing, the state capital in my hometown. Now hold your left hand sideways above your right hand. That looks a bit like Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Got it? Got it. Okay. The map you hold in your hands is our gift to you. We are bringing you to Michigan for the 12 days of Christmas. We are going to see as much of this state as we can. Trust me, there's a lot to see. This is the Great Lakes state and a winter wonderland. We have Motor City and Furniture City, sand dunes and ski hills, youpers and trolls. That might not make sense now, but it will soon. So pack your bags, grab some snow boots, and rev your engines. You're in for a wild trip. Your favorite cousin, Will. Dear Mom and Dad, hello from Michigan. I see why they call the state a winter wonderland. When I arrived at the airport in Lansing last night, fat, fluffy snowflakes were falling and a thick blanket of snow covered the ground. Even though the air was chilly, shivery cold, everything looked cozy. This morning, Will said he wanted to go for a hike behind his house. I thought it would be impossible to wade through the deep snow, but I was wrong. We wore snowshoes, which let us float on top of the snow. Uncle Mike says that snowshoes were invented by the Native Americans. The ancestors of Michigan's Indians came here 14,000 years ago. A lot of Native Americans still live in Michigan, including the people of the Three Fires, the Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi. On our hike, we saw an enormous white pine, Michigan's state tree. Will said you can tell it's a white pine because the needles are long and soft and grow in groups of 5. We also saw a robin, the state bird. Will was really surprised because most robins head south in the winter. Maybe this robin thinks that snow is pretty too. Love, Katie. P.S. Is there room in our front yard for one more tree? When you see the present Will gave me, you will understand why I'm asking. On the first day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Beep, beep. We visited Detroit today. It's called Motor City. Everywhere I looked, there were shiny cars zipping down the streets, roaring down expressways. Auntie Barb said Detroit is home to the big 3 American auto companies, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. We drove down a famous road called Woodward Avenue. Uncle Mike said that in 1909, Woodward had the first mile of rural concrete highway in the country. Next, we went to the Henry Ford Museum. It has more cars than I could count. I learned about the assembly line, which Henry Ford perfected to build the Model T quickly and keep the cost down. He could build a whole car in 93 minutes and sell it for only $300. We took a ride in a Model T around Greenfield Village, an old-fashioned village that was decorated for Christmas. I begged the guide to let me get behind the wheel, but he said driving was his job. How old do I have to be to get a driver's license? Love, Katie. On the second day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 2 Model Ts and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter to Mom and Dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. Will is nuts about lighthouses, and he loves ghost stories. I guess he lives in the right state. There are more than 115 lighthouses in Michigan, and there are lots of spooky stories to go with them. Today we drove north to Lake Huron to visit the Sturgeon Point Lighthouse. It was built in 1869 to warn ships away from a dangerous reef. A keeper lived in the cabin and kept the light burning all night, every night. Now the light runs on electricity, and the keeper's cabin is a museum. I thought it would be fun to live in that pretty white house until Will told me that the lights turn on all by themselves at night. Some people think a keeper's ghost is there, still doing his job. Sure enough, as we drove away, we saw a light flicker on in the second-story window. What a shivery souvenir. Covered in goosebumps, Katie. On the third day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a pine tree. Another letter. Dear Mom and Dad, today I laced up a pair of skates, stepped out on the ice, and fell flat on my bottom. You have no idea how hard and cold ice is until you land on it. We skated on a little lake in the middle of the mitten. Michigan is called the Great Lakes State because it touches 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, but it has lots of smaller lakes too. Aunt Barb says they are a gift of the glaciers. Millions of years ago, big sheets of ice moved across the state, tearing holes in the land. The glaciers melted, filling the holes with water, and the state was left with more than 11,000 lakes. I inched along the ice until I learned how to step and glide, step and glide. Then Will gave me a hockey stick and a puck, and soon I was taking shots at the goal. I even made one. Hockey is big in Michigan. Will hopes to play hockey for the Detroit Red Wings someday. I asked him what he would do if he didn't make the team. No problem, he said. Maybe he'll play baseball for the Tigers, or football for the Lions, or basketball for the Pistons. If you love sports, it sounds like Michigan is the place to be. Working on my slap shot. Love, Katie. On the 4th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Dear Mom and Dad, did you know Will is a troll? Today we drove across the mighty Mac, the Mackinac Bridge, to get to the Upper Peninsula. It's 5 miles long and one of the longest suspension bridges in the world. Michiganders call the Upper Peninsula the UP, and they call the people who live there Yoopers. Get it? UP? Yoopers? The Yoopers sometimes call people from the Lower Peninsula trolls because they live below. They live below the bridge. High on the mighty Mac, I could see 2 of the Great Lakes, Huron and Michigan. They really are great. I felt like I was looking at the ocean, but without the salty smell. Aunt Barb says there are 6 quadrillion gallons of water in the Great Lakes. They provide drinking water for 40 million people. The biggest, deepest, and coldest is Lake Superior. The smallest 2 are Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. All the lakes but Lake Ontario touch Michigan. Those lakes sure looked icy today. In the summer, Will said he swims, fishes, sails, and plays in the Great Lakes. We won't have time to visit all 5, but Will figured out a way for me to bring home a little piece of them anyway. Already planning to come back in July. Katie. On the 5th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a pine tree. Another letter. Greetings from days gone by. Today we hopped a ferry to Mackinac Island. Aunt Barb said we were lucky the ferries were still running, because soon the lakes will freeze, and the boats will take a break until spring. When we arrived on the island, a taxi drove us to our hotel. The taxi was horse-drawn carriage. Cars haven't been allowed on this island for more than 100 years. People get around on horses, bicycles, snowmobiles, cross-country skis, and by just plain walking. Years ago, Native American tribes named this island Michilimackinac, which means the land of the great turtle. The island is kind of shaped like a big tortoise, if you use your imagination a little. In the 1600s, French fur traders set up a trading post here, and the British built a fort in 1780. Now tourists come by the boatload to Mackinac Island to enjoy the Lilac Festival in June, the Music Festival in late summer and early fall, and the famous fudge all year round. Yum! My favorite flavor is definitely mint chocolate. Remember how I used to want a pony for my birthday? Never mind. Just wait till you see the souvenirs Will gave me from Mackinac Island. Time to giddy up. Katie. On the 6th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 6 horses clumping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Hi, Mom and Dad. When we got to Marquette today, we went straight to the harbor so we could see an enormous freighter being loaded with iron ore. Tons of pellets rattled down chutes from the dock into the ship. It was fun to watch, but really noisy. Uncle Mike says people have been mining iron in the Upper Peninsula since the 1800s. Copper mining goes back even further. Indians dug up copper as early as 5,000 BC to create tools and decorations. For dinner, we ate a traditional miner's meal, a meat pie called a pasty, pronounced pasty. At the restaurant, we met some miners who told us stories of the old days. They said if a miner's pasty was cold, he would heat it on a shovel over a candle. I wanted to heat my pasty that way, but the waitress said she didn't have any shovels handy. Could you learn to make pasties, Mom? Make a lot, please. I'm bringing a few friends home for dinner. Love, Katie. On the 7th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clopping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Dear Mom and Dad, I played so much in the snow today, I felt a little flaky. Har har. This morning we put on cross-country skis and went gliding through the woods near the town of Iron Mountain. It was quiet and peaceful. I felt like I was floating on top of the snow. But that was too slow for Will. He went to a ski hill to snowboard. It was faster, but scarier. Will says that a man from Michigan named Sherman Poppin created one of the earliest snowboards in the 1960s for his daughters. He called it Snurfer because it snurfed over snow. We slipped, slid, and shredded down the hills all afternoon. By then I was ready to just sit down and rest. Good idea, Will said. He handed me a helmet and told me to sit down on a snowmobile. Michigan has more snowmobiles than any other state, so of course I had to go for a ride. Woohoo! If I lived in the UP, I would go everywhere on a snowmobile. Your favorite snow bunny, Katie. On the 8th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 8 border shredding, 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clopping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 model trees, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Dear Mom and Dad, I think they should call Michigan the Sandbox State. If you saw the huge dunes here, you would know what I mean. Today we visited Sleeping Bear Dunes. Its name comes from an Ojibwe Indian legend. A mother bear and 2 cubs tried to cross Lake Michigan to escape a forest fire. The mother bear reached the shore first. She collapsed and waited for her cubs, but they never made it. The Great Spirit took pity on the poor mother bear. He raised 2 islands where the cubs had slipped beneath the waves. He covered the mother bear with sand, creating a dune in the shape of a sleeping bear. It's a sad story, but I must admit I had fun climbing that sandy, snowy dune. I liked running down it even better. In the afternoon, we hiked along Lake Michigan. I picked up a dusty gray stone with a 6-sided pattern on it and almost tossed it in the water. Are you crazy? Will said, that's our state stone. Turns out I had found a Petoskey stone. It's a fossil found only in Michigan. Your number 1 cub, Katie. On the 9th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 9 golden sand dunes, 8 border shredding, 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clomping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Dear Mom and Dad, today was a very fruitful day. We traveled along the west side of the state and saw acres and acres of fruit farms. Lake Michigan makes the climate here perfect for growing apples, cherries, peaches, pears, plums, blueberries, strawberries, and grapes. Of course, those crops are not actually growing in the wintertime. But we visited a cider mill and watched apple cider being made. Bushels of apples were fed into a mill and chopped into little pieces. Layers of mushed up apples were wrapped in cloth and stacked on top of each other. Then a press slowly pushed down on the apples. Juice poured out by the gallons. I couldn't wait to try the cider. It tasted cold and crisp, like a fall day. I liked it so much. Will is sending me home with 10 jugs of cider, enough for the whole neighborhood. And he gave me my very own cider press so I can make more cider whenever I want. Love, Katie. On the 10th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 10 jugs of cider, 9 golden sand dunes, 8 border shredding, 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clomping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Hello, Mother. Hello, Father. Step, kick, step, kick. Don't mind me. I'm just practicing a new dance. We went to Holland, a city founded by Dutch immigrants. We watched a man carve wooden shoes by hand. An artist painted pretty pictures of windmills and flowers on them. Will and I each bought a pair. It was tough to clomp around in those hard, stiff shoes. A girl in the store told us about tulip time. a spring festival that brings 500,000 visitors to Holland. Tulips bloom everywhere. Kids dress up in Dutch costumes and wooden shoes and march in a parade, and teenagers perform the Klompen dances. The girl taught us a few dance steps. Ouch! I told her the shoes hurt my feet. She said dancers wear 6 to 8 pairs of stockings for cushioning. Next time I come, I'll remember to pack extra socks. After we left Holland, we headed to Grand Rapids. It got the nickname Furniture City in the 1800s, when it became famous for making beautiful wooden furniture. It's also famous for being the first city to add fluoride to its drinking water to prevent cavities. Tonight I will dream of wooden shoes, fancy chairs, and white teeth. Your future Klompen dancer, Katie. On the 11th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 11 Dutch girls dancing, 10 jugs of cider, 9 golden sand dunes, 8 borders shredding, 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clomping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. Another letter. Hi, Mom and Dad. Will said we would celebrate my last day in Michigan with a social studies lesson. You gotta be kidding, I said. I'm on vacation. He just smiled and poured me a glass of fizzy soda pop. It was Werner's ginger ale. Some people say it was the first soda pop ever created. A pharmacist named James Werner in Detroit made it in the 1800s. He put ginger, vanilla, and spices in an oak barrel, then left to fight in the Civil War. When he came home 4 years later, he poured a glass and decided it tasted deliciously different. I bet he liked the way it tickled his nose. The second part of my lesson was big, gooey ice cream sundae. Will scooped up a pile of ice cream made from milk from Michigan cows. He loaded it with chunks of Mackinac Island fudge. And he topped it off with cherry sauce because Michigan grows more tart cherries than any other state. I wish social studies at school could be this tasty. Best of all, Will gave me the sweetest homework, 12 cherry sundaes. I bet you wouldn't mind helping me finish this assignment. I had so much fun on this trip, but there's a lot more I want to see and do in Michigan. I think we should come here in the spring, and again in the summer, and maybe next fall too. Your official Michigan tour guide, Katie. On the 12th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 12 cherry sundaes, 11 Dutch girls dancing, 10 jugs of cider, 9 golden sand dunes, 8 borders shredding, 7 hungry miners, 6 horses clomping, 5 frozen lakes, 4 hockey sticks, 3 gray ghosts, 2 Model Ts, and a robin in a white pine tree. This story was written by Susan Collins Thoms and illustrated by Deb Paludi. I hope you enjoyed the story.